jumping back into the cryptoverse. If you guys like this video, please subscribe to the channel and turn the notifications on. And if you enjoy diving further into this stuff and talking with people more regularly about in-depth analysis of the crypto markets, then check out the Telegram channel. We recently surpassed 1,000 members, so there's definitely a lot going on in there. Today we're going to be going over an extension of what we looked at yesterday. So we're going to be looking at the total crypto market cap as a function of time. And one of the main feedback pieces that I got was that what is the exact reason for these lengthening market cycles? And I feel like there is some confusion over it, so I'm going to go over that today. And then some people were wondering where this, magical six-figure Bitcoin that I just pulled out of the air, it seemed like, where did that come from? So I first shown these 4 different market cycles. We're hopefully currently in our 4th one. Unless we were to see a lower low, then you could argue this is still part of the 3rd market cycle. But you can see that each one is getting subsequently longer. And we can further see that if we plot peak to peak and then peak to peak. So we first have around 2.5 years between peak to peak, and then 4.12 years between this peak to this peak. So it begs the question, why do people generally think that we are on a 4-year cycle? Maybe they think it because the last cycle was 4 years. Maybe they think it because the halving occurs approximately every 4 years. Does it mean that we're not on a 4-year cycle? Perhaps the counter-argument is that Bitcoin was too immature during this phase and that we have now gotten into a 4-year cycle where we will repeat around this cycle because of the halving. But I'm leaning more towards that this is more indicative of a longer-term trend where, if you can imagine several decades out, if each cycle gets longer and longer and longer and the ROI from market cycle bottom gets lower and lower, then eventually, Bitcoin will ultimately stabilize and become, more of an asset that, is not going to see these crazy, 40x, 100x gains and 80% losses. So this is basically the theory. Whether you choose to subscribe to that theory is up to you. So if we suppose that the next cycle is just another around 4 years, if we say it's the same length as this one, then this would put us peaking at the beginning of 2022. If we were to say that it's, say, 5 years, then it would put us peaking at the end of 2022, maybe the beginning of 2023. One thing is, you can see the difference between this and this is a year and a half. So if we say take another year and a half, then that might put us peaking at the summer of 2023, which I think is also possible. I think sometime at the end of 2022, early 2023, plus or minus 6 months, I feel like all of that is completely reasonable to expect. I think the likelihood that we peak in 2022 or 2023 far exceeds that of peaking in 2021. That's just my opinion. But believe me, I would love it if we peaked in 2021 because then we can realize those profits sooner. So here, I'm just going to briefly show the ROI from market cycle bottom. This is showing days since bottom. But since many of us think better in years, we're going to go ahead and convert that to years since bottom. And you can see that each market cycle, going from when we first bottomed to seeing that peak, it gets longer and longer, and the ROI is more or less getting lower and lower. Not really so much here, but we have started getting lower. So if we were to continue this trend, perhaps that this next one is going to take 4 years from the market cycle bottom, which we're assuming is the end of 2018. If that were to occur, then the next peak would be the end of 2022. You might say, well, what if it's a 4-year cycle? Then maybe we peak in 3 years from the market cycle bottom, and the peak is at the end of 2021. Note that where I've drawn these peaks, it's somewhat arbitrary. We could come up to, say, a 50x ROI, or maybe we'll only go up to a 20x ROI. That remains to be seen. It's possible we go up to 100x ROI, which means that Bitcoin would get to over $300,000. I don't really think that's likely. I think that the ROI is going to be decreasing as we continue to move forward. So here I'm showing the same thing, but we're also plotting on here the bear markets as well, just so you can kind of get a feel for the length of each full market cycle from the bottom of one cycle to the bottom of the next. And you can see that each time, the time from bottom to bottom is getting longer and longer, so we might expect this trend to continue. So this would be going out all the way until the end of 2022, early 2023. So again, it's possible that we peak a little bit earlier. It's also possible we peak later. The point is, to all this, is we don't ultimately know when it's going to happen, but just be prepared for anything. Know what you're going to do before the time comes, because this is the time to be accumulating. This is not the time to be worrying about short-term price movements. It's not the time to be, reloading your portfolio every 5 seconds and getting upset if the price is down and getting super excited if the price has gone up. Just use this as an opportunity to build the space, to potentially grow your portfolio if you want to, and to just dollar cost average to increase the amount that you can potentially sell if we see another huge run up like we have in the past. I'm sorry for everyone that you have to deal with these white graphs. I know many of you might have preferred a dark theme, so I'm sorry for blinding your eyes. But maybe I'll switch it up at some point. If you guys want to dive deeper into this stuff, feel free to check out the Patreon. If you want to support the channel, $10 a month, and I'll basically be putting almost daily updates where maybe I'll talk about the risk for that day for Bitcoin or Ethereum or something. $30 patron only chat room, and then I'll be providing you with all of these images as you want them. I am working on a website. We are going to be getting those up on a live website at some point, but I still will continue to put stuff here that will not be on the website. And then of course $50 a month if you want one-on-one correspondence with me, and if you want to, say, get a specific graph for a coin that you're really interested in. So anyways, that's going to wrap it up for this tier. If you want, or this video, if you want to look further into why I looked at, say, 140K from the last video, then I'll link that here at the end of this video, just to give you an idea where the 140K came from. But I mean, it's really not meant to be exact. It's plus or minus, 50K. It's not meant to be an exact prediction or anything like that. So anyways, I hope you guys liked the video. Until next time, bye.